Legislation is good and the Labor Party is pleased to support it.
I call the Honourable Member Dr Paul Hutchison.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, for the opportunity to speak on this very important psychoactive substances bill. It undoubtedly is an innovative, world-leading piece of legislation from an innovative, world-leading national government. I'm glad you agree, and I'm glad you are going to support this bill. Mr Speaker, there's no doubt that over the last 22 years or so that party pills and psychoactive manufacture of pills has escalated enormously in this country, and they have been extremely hard to control legally, and we've seen all sorts of attempts at this, particularly since about 2002, as there have been changes in 2005 with the Misuse of Drugs Amendment Act, and then further changes to that. It became particularly to the notice of the public with benzylpiperazine, which I think people could manufacture easily from sheep dip, which was cheap, easily available in a country like New Zealand, and sadly we had to grapple with the spectre of many of these party pills being available in our dairies to young people and sold in a pretty frivolous way by all sorts of people to a variety of, in particular, young people who, when these were mixed with alcohol, could lead to all sorts of disastrous consequences. And the trouble was they were legal, they were cheap, and they were readily available. As I mentioned, the Misuse of Drugs Act amendment came in 2005, and it gave a ready mechanism to be able to categorise drugs such as these as controlled drugs, but the problem was as soon as one was categorised, then another variety, just with a slight change in the compound, would be made, and off and away once again. It would be legal, it would be cheap, and the manufacturers were taking great advantage of this situation. By 2008, another wave of party pills emerged, and these were around cannabinoids and synthetic cannabinoids, and of course there were a whole variety of these that could be smoked or vaporized, and a whole variety of utensils and other things that was associated with them. So that literally dozens of new psychoactive substances containing a huge new number of ingredients were being brought onto the market in a matter of weeks, and existing legislation just could not keep up. The Law Commission, as was mentioned, completed its review in 2011 and came through with a very, very comprehensive variety of solutions. It wasn't entirely clear, but certainly the concept, the very important concept of requiring the manufacturer to show that the product is of low risk of harm, or to prove that the product was of low risk of harm, is the essence of what this bill is all about. And that's where it's innovative, that's where it's world leading. In the meantime, of course, the Honourable Peter Dunn introduced the temporary class drug notices, and they have met with quite a amount of success. I think he said 33 substances have been banned under these temporary class drug notices. This has worked well, with a 75% fall in the number of calls received by the National Poison Centre over incidents around synthetic cannabis in 12 months alone. But this bill is to replace these current notices. The current notices are due to expire, I think, by about August this year. So indeed, it will be important to get the legislation through in a fairly rapid way. New Zealanders indeed deserve to know that products available to them are safe and that they're not being put in harm's way with untested, risky substances. I'm glad the Honourable Phil Heatley agrees with this. Mr. Speaker, one of the important things to emphasise is that the cost of testing will be borne by manufacturers and not the taxpayer. And this manufacturing group of people that have been involved with party pills have made a lot of money in a very, very dubious way for a long period of time. So I think that it is good to see that they will have to work extremely hard to show that the products are low risk. And the bill will seamlessly replace the current temporary class drug notices regime. This regime has made it possible to respond faster to new developments, but does nothing to nip them in the bud in the first place. So that the bill will indeed, hopefully, be a much more durable long-term solution. It has considerable support from organisations like New Zealand Medical Association, New Zealand Drug Foundation, and I must say I look forward very much to the select committee process so that hopefully we can get it into optimal shape. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call